Hey, what's up, everybody? Video 44 coming at you with another video. All right. So I know I want to make a Cleveland, Indiana prediction video, but I'm having SIM card issues, so I can't necessarily glance at the roster like I want to. So I figured I'd just turn on the camera, talk some crap, and maybe try again a little later before the first game starts at 3 o'clock Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern. So I just wanted to just run my mouth about the NBA in general. There's some things we could talk about. Clippers fizzled out like I told y'all they would. Look, man, if you've been in Los Angeles as long as I have, my whole damn life, I'm gonna be 41 in a couple months. The Clippers have always been the same old team, no matter who they put in uniform, no matter what they got going on. It's the one instance where I legitimately believe there's a curse on the team and that they're not going anywhere because of that. You could put anybody in that damn uniform, any combinations of anybody in that uniform. I don't think they're going anywhere until they change the name of the team and get them the hell out of Los Angeles. As long as they're going to be considered the Clippers, they're cursed. And I really think that that's something that obviously you don't want to drive your intentions in regards to assessing a sport. But when we talk about this team, literally, this is how it goes, man. Oh, they look so good. They're going into the playoffs. The most dangerous team. They're on like a 7 or 8 game winning streak. Yeah, cool. Yeah, but they're still going to lose, bro. And they did. And then there's another thing that's working against them, which I don't know if it's separate at all. It probably ain't. The fact that they brought James Harden to their team willingly. And him having another game 7 where he had like 7 points. And I know he had 13 assists. I'm smart enough to know that's a really good game. But when your team needs scoring, in a game 7, I ain't trying to hear about how many times you pass the rock to other people, bro. When you're a shooter, a scorer, and you've done the things that he's done, scoring the basketball, I'm really not interested in 7 points, 13 assists. I'm sorry, I'm not interested in that. And so, for me, James Harden does what he always does when a game 7 comes around or when the pressure gets too high, he doesn't show up. We've seen this a million times. It's in his DNA. This is who he is. And you can expect him to do it again, too, if ever given another opportunity. It just is what it is. You can't win with that dude unless he's like 7th option. If you have to rely upon him for any reason at all, you're going to lose. It's period. At this point, it's clear. That is beyond clear. And so I understood that, deeply understood that when he got to Philadelphia. At this point, the Clippers are just running into a wall, and it was funny to watch as a Laker fan. So, that's my point of view. I don't have any hope in the Clippers. And I have no faith in the Clippers. They're the Clippers. I gave up on that 25 years ago. I stopped having any hope that they were going to do anything. Now we're just in a space where it's like, I'm amused by people who do. Like, you guys really think they're going to do something, huh? It's fascinating. Like, that's where we at with that as far as I'm concerned. Been watching this for too long. Well past the stage where I'm like, well, they got a good team. No, they don't. They still them. And so, them going out sad last night, I watched most of that. And the funny thing was, I didn't watch much of the first quarter or the second quarter. I watched maybe the end of the second quarter and all of the collapse. The third quarter collapse, I saw the whole thing. I saw the halftime report. I watched all of that. And the third quarter started, I was watching closely. Didn't have no distractions. I saw the collapse. And you know what came to mind? It's exactly what you should expect. It's exactly what you should expect. When you got the combination of the Clippers and James Harden come together, this is what's coming to that. This is what to expect. This is what's going to happen. And so I'm not telling anybody anything otherwise. This is what I know is going to happen when they see that team from here on out. Anytime you see the Clippers, you can expect come playoff time, they're gonna collapse. All right, so now the Nuggets move on to play the Thunder. I did a lot of thinking about that. Of course, I want to do a prediction video on that. I'm not gonna make the prediction here, but I can say some things. The thing about the Thunder that I don't think many people are going to really think too much about, because they have such a good two-way fleet of talent up and down the roster. Their second unit is amazing. Their first unit is great. And they got Chet, they got J-Dub, they got the Dortcher Chamber. You got obviously SGA possibly going to win MVP right now. You got Hartenstein, who does provide a lot of what it is that really needs to be considered in regards to the statement I'm about to make. Hartenstein is the difference. The Thunder, with all of their depth and all of their ability to play defense, the one thing that I can argue about is the fact that they're just not overly big as a team. They have tremendous talent, but they don't have a whole lot of girthiness to the size that they have. Guys are tall, but guys need to do a lot of squats in OKC. Guys need to really build a lot of leg strength and put on leg muscle to really push around with some of the bigger teams in the NBA, in my opinion. Now, there are ways you can win without that, especially considering that the Denver Nuggets defensively have been terrible now. They're not a good defensive team at all. So for me, I think that's probably the difference. But OKC does tend to run cold, as we've seen in the in-season championship game against Milwaukee. We saw it against the Los Angeles Lakers, if I'm not mistaken, in the one game that we beat them in OKC. We've seen it a couple times where OKC can have games where they shoot like 28% from three on pretty solid to large volume. That type of thing against a highly gifted executing Denver team, coupled with Denver's experience, coupled with Denver's size, I think could create some problems for OKC if they're not sharp for 48 minutes every single game in this series. They're going to need to play their best ball to beat Denver. And although I think Hartenstein's size, adding him to the team, I think could change the dynamic. Because if he's playing big and you put that next to Chet, put that next to the other guys, I think you can have some good things going on there with the size. So it probably will be the difference if they can keep Hartenstein very healthy throughout the course of the series. I think they'll feel good about that. But I think this is what the Lakers ran into with the Denver Nuggets. The combination of Jokic, Gordon, Porter, that is really difficult to deal with size-wise, especially if they're hitting shots. And then you talk about Russell Westbrook, who is about 6'4", but is significantly stronger than most people, just period. Like, he's just stronger than most. He can withstand more than most. And now you've had him playing in altitude for a season, so he's not getting tired even less than he ever has before because of the altitude thing. That altitude thing is a real thing. Even though there are some people, including Shaquille, who don't believe altitude is a thing. When you go into Denver, you're going to deal with that. The fatigue going to hit you in a Game 7, James Harden. You're going to feel that. And I think, OKC obviously has fantastic young players. Great condition guys. They're not hurting in conditioning at all. So I don't know if that's something to really circle in regards to that team. But just in general, when you start talking about a physical matchup having to go up against these three big dudes, I think that could be a little more than people are expecting in regards to this series. I don't know if in listening to people talk about this series, I heard enough about the combination of Denver being an excellent execution team shooting the ball versus OKC tending to not be, and the size advantage that Denver could potentially use against this OKC team. But like I said, Hartenstein is the guy I circle in this situation, because if he can hold up against Jokic and not miss any time in this series and plays his best ball with all the energy that he plays with, I think he may be just enough to make you feel a lot better about that situation. But all in all, I with that being said, I think that it's logical to take OKC to win the series the way the OKC been playing. They won so many games this season. But the experience of Denver, coupled with the size that Denver provides, I think could potentially steal a game or two in this series. It could steal a game. And so I don't know, man. I just think that OKC is the one team that I think is a contender left in the playoffs that in the second round, genuinely, I could see losing the series. I could totally see them losing to Denver now. Especially since OKC has not been tested. Playing against Memphis did nothing for that. And the Denver Nuggets, even though you could say they're not going to get any rest, just played 7 games with a great defensive team. OKC is a great defensive team. So they've been tested already going into this series against a team that kind of does similar things to a lesser degree, but the Clippers and OKC kind of do similar things in some ways. So I just think that when you talk about who's been tested, who's more ready, OKC is having all types of rest after playing a soft team. I wouldn't be surprised if Denver punched them in the mouth, having been well tested and ultimately still in rhythm. When you talk about why I think the Lakers start the series against Minnesota slow, it's because of the rest. Too much of it. And I think the same could be argued for OKC, a young team who's yet to win anything, going into it against an old champion. They don't need no rest. Those kids didn't need rest. Rest from what? They got one of the deepest teams in the league. It's just, I think they stand to potentially be more rusty than they are to benefit from rest, having set as much as they've been sitting over the last week or so and a half. So, I don't know. A lot of garbage time in that Memphis series. I mean, I just don't know if there isn't a world where OKC starts a series off slow, and then all of a sudden you're looking at Denver with home court advantage. Altitude included in the thought. It's weird, man. I think it's very important that OKC snatch up them first 2 games, establish dominance, out-execute Denver by being ridiculous defensively, for which they're capable of being ridiculous defensively, for which they're capable of being, and keeping fresh legs on the floor, for which Denver is probably not going to be able to do as much as OKC is capable of. You do all of that, and I think you can win this series. But I do have some legitimate concerns. Some legitimate concerns about OKC going up against this Denver team. I think they would have much rather played the Clippers. Denver is a little shaky there. So that's what I want to say about that. Boston and New York. I think this New York team is actually constructed to match up with Boston, but I don't know that it's going to matter, if I'm being honest with you guys. I think they're constructed to compete with them, but I don't know if they're better than them. I don't think so. I underestimated New York against Detroit. But Detroit, an inferior team to Boston, clearly took New York to almost 7 games. They took some bad officiating for New York, basically, to get out of that series. So going up against Boston, I don't think New York is going to do too well, man. I don't think so. I don't think so. This is when you start separating tiers of teams in the second round. You start seeing who's really what. I think New York is really good. They're probably constructed to face Boston, but I don't think they're poor man's Boston in some ways. I don't know if they're going to really have a good way forward against the Boston Celtics. But Jalen Brunson, I don't underestimate Jalen Brunson. Karl Towns playing some good ball in these playoffs. He's going to need to. They do have some star power in their starting lineup with their wings that could offset some of the star power of Boston. It's going to be an interesting series, but I think Boston's going to take care of them. I do. And Cleveland and Indy, same thing. Cleveland, Indy separates them. Cleveland's going to separate themselves, in my opinion. I expect Cleveland to separate themselves from a team like Indiana, who's pretty good, but not good enough to beat them. Not good enough. They're pretty good, but Indy is not on the level of Cleveland, and I think it's going to show probably early in the series. I would imagine Cleveland's going to establish some dominance today. I expect them to win that series, that game by a lot. And so that's what I think. I don't know about that Indiana defense having any success against the well-oiled machine that is the Cleveland offense. I don't think so, man. I doubt it. And then we're looking at Game 7 tonight with the Golden State Warriors and the Houston Rockets. I thought that the Warriors would win that series in 6. I want to see the Rockets win the series, to be honest with you. I'm kind of over Golden State, as we've talked about many times. Personally, I'm over them. I don't think the Rockets have a worse team than Golden State. I think Golden State's a worse team than them, honestly. But when it gets to this time of year, you start talking about Game 7s, you're talking about playoff Jimmy and playoff Steph. It almost becomes a situation where it's like, is it really realistic for the Rockets to win this game tonight? I don't doubt that they've had enough to keep up with the Golden State Warriors. I don't doubt that they have shown that they can beat the Golden State Warriors in normal situations. Can they beat the Golden State Warriors in a Game 7? And my experience watching basketball tells me to be very skeptical of that. Guys like Jalen Green, Amen Thompson, they haven't been here. Terry Easton, they haven't been here, man. And it's going to be tough for them to really do what they need to do to defeat a team like that in a Game 7 situation with all the experience that Golden State has. Golden State has been to the finals 6 times. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just, I don't know if that's going to work in their favor tonight when you're going up against a team that's probably less tired than you, fresher legs, and players playing better than you. So it's really hard to gauge if this is not just the turn of the page for the Golden State Warriors and this is it. But when you talk about playoff Jimmy and playoff Steph, that's really difficult to overcome in a game like this. It's really difficult to overcome them. But the surrounding pieces have obviously, told the story. And these teams have been playing each other, obviously, for 6 games now. So they know one another a lot more so going into this game than they did going into the series, obviously speaking. Which brings me to a space where it's like, I don't know, the Rockets haven't figured some things out, which is why they won 2 games straight in this series. So when you get this far into it, it gets difficult. But I don't know that I'm not expecting Rockets to wet the bed, if I'm being honest with you. The Rockets have some players on their team, Jalen Green, Fred VanVleet. Those two specifically, even though Fred VanVleet's been playing great, I don't know if I haven't seen enough of them in a backcourt together to be concerned about going into this basketball game that they're gonna play well. Green has been bad all series. Fred VanVleet's, like I said, been playing good, but I see a 1 for 9 coming, that kind of thing. And I just, as I've said a couple times on this channel, when it comes to those two in the backcourt, if they go cold, the Rockets can't win. If both of them run cold, the Rockets can't win. And I just think that there's a damn good chance they run cold tonight. I think it's a damn good chance. And if Steph Curry don't have that problem, goes for 40 points, hits like 10 threes and sends them boys home. I just think that that's what we can expect in a lot of cases. When you talk about Steph Curry and Jimmy Butler teaming up in a Game 7 situation, they live for this. And I just don't know if I can trust those Rockets like that. I don't think I can. I don't believe I can trust those Rockets like that. And so that's why I'm hopeful the Rockets win. I would love to be wrong because I'm really tired of the Warriors. And I think a Rockets-Wolves series could be one of the best series in these entire playoffs. I really think that series could be fantastic. And I really don't think much of a Wolves-Warriors series, if I'm being honest with you. I don't care to see a single second of that. So for me, it's like I really want the Rockets to win. But I don't think they probably going to, man. This is playoff Jimmy, playoff Steph. Jimmy getting to the line 1,000,000 times tonight. I wouldn't be surprised if we get to the line 18 times tonight, bro. I really wouldn't. You just know, what's coming with those two, man. We've seen this movie 1,000,000 times with Steph Curry and Jimmy in respective situations. Now you put them together and you give them a Game 7. I just don't know how the hell the Rockets going to overcome that. I don't think it's realistic to think they will. But I hope I'm wrong, man. I really hope I'm wrong. So that's what I have to say about that. And of course, the Wolves are waiting. And we'll talk about whatever that series will be. I really hope it's the Rockets. Praying it's the Rockets. But I will say this about the Wolves. They can't shoot as bad as they did against the Lakers in Game 5. I think they're going to win any games against either the Warriors or the Rockets. They're not going to win if they shoot poorly from behind the arc like they did against the Lakers. They can't beat anybody other than the Lakers that day when they play like that. And since that's the last time I seen them, I have to admit that the Wolves a little, and this is ridiculous coming from somebody who just got knocked off in 5, but the Wolves are a little vulnerable depending on who they're going against. The Lakers were a fractured basketball roster that probably shouldn't even been in the playoffs when we really saw how it was going. So half the players we didn't even want to play, stuff like that. Rockets don't have that problem. Golden State is going to be better than we were in that series. So some of the stuff that worked against the Lakers is not going to work against the Rockets. I'll tell you that. But you know, Ant-Man is coming. I think he's coming. Like I said, the last time I saw them, they weren't looking very good. The last time I saw Ant-Man, he bricked 11 threes and didn't hit any of them or whatever. So I do have some reservations to say that the Wolves might be a bit overrated right now based on how they took care of the Lakers and how people were overrating the Lakers. You know, but at the end of the day, the Wolves can win a multitude of ways. They have a lot of versatility, more versatility than a lot of rosters. And Ant-Man really is a star, but he's going to have to be more consistent than he was in that Lakers series if he wants to win this season. So, yeah, that's what I have to say. I still think the Wolves are a dangerous basketball team, no doubt. But I walk away from that series having more to say about my Lakers and how much we weren't equipped to compete in these playoffs than I do to have much to say about the Wolves and how good they looked against us. I just think a lot of things they did probably ain't going to get duplicated against complete teams, for which the Lakers were not. So that's my point of view. I don't really know about the Lakers as it pertains to how much I should inflate who beat them when I consider what all we had going on with our roster and how ultimately we fizzled out. Minnesota, I don't think was tested very much. They were beat up, but as far as like what type of talent they went up against, what type of execution they went up against, they didn't go up against much of nothing. The Lakers hurt themselves a good portion of that series. On top of Minnesota playing well, it was just a bad combination. So I don't know, man. Minnesota didn't leave me thinking that they were about to just win the championship after beating us. That's basically what I'm saying to you. They got work to do, and they got better talent ahead to face. So, yeah, that's really it, man. The Eastern Conference, I'm not excited about neither one of these series. New York, Boston, I guess because I'm a Laker fan, I just never want to see any Boston, just like I don't want to see any Golden State. So just wake me up when that's over. That's literally how I feel about any series Boston is in. I don't watch any Boston basketball, really ever, unless they're in the finals, hoping they're losing. Other than that, I don't have any interest, especially when they're good. To watch them win is like something that I would rather watch paint dry, to be completely honest with you. So I didn't watch a single second of the Orlando series in Boston. I'm imagining it was pretty good. People said it was good. I'm not going to. If Boston's playing well, it's irritating and disturbing to my spirit. So I definitely do not want to see it in the second round, just like I did in the first round. As far as Cleveland and Indy, I think that, Indy won 3 games in that series in the regular season. They won the season series 3-1. I don't know if that matters in the playoffs, but I have to wonder if there was something in the matchups that made it so that was going on. That's what I wonder about the Cleveland series. Was there something schematically in the matchups that favored the Pacers? I'm too far away from it to even know. But I have to wonder, when you look at a 3-1 season series situation, you have to say, is this the kryptonite to the Cleveland? Is this just the team they cannot beat? They may be better than this team, but maybe they can't beat them. Only those who pay attention know. I have no idea. But I do find myself wanting to make the video on that series. So yeah, man. Hopefully my phone will allow me to do that right now, and I appreciate everybody for allowing me to bump my gums about the NBA. Hearing a lot of rumors about stuff. I think the latest rumor that's interesting as well, maybe we'll talk about later, is the potential of Jaren Jackson Jr. being on the move and where he could land. I think that's very interesting to me, given the fact I'm a Laker fan and needs a center really badly. And so we'll see. We will see. But that's pretty much what I got to say. My name is BDL44. Thank y'all for watching.